Hey gang! Tony here. How are you doing? This is gonna be a long one, so you better strap in. I have a big beer today to get me through this particular video. This is Warlock from the Blackwater series. It is an imperial stout brewed with pumpkins and natural flavors. So I'm very excited to try that one. I love me some dark beer. And this looks like one of the darkest. So, I'm going to... Alright, oh my god, I have to collect my thoughts a little bit here because there's a lot going on. First of all, I was tagged in a Halloween Horror 13 Questions thing that Johnny Tellez tagged me in. So I have these 13 questions that I am going to answer about Halloween and horror and movies. And that's going to be the main thrust of the video, if you will. But it just so happens that when I got home from the store, there was a huge pile of packages, and there's so many things to unbox that I'm not gonna do it in this video. But I just wanted to tell you, like the rest of this week, unboxing videos galore. I got something here from the Halloween movie store. I got something here from Dread Central and another thing from Dread Central. One from KW and one from John. I don't know what these are, so that's going to be exciting. I have something here from Sean Tracy, which scared me for a second because he shipped it back to me in the box that I used to ship my my merchandise to him in. And for a second, I thought something I sent out got returned to sender, and I was really scared. But it was just Sean Tracy sending me something very special. This is going to be its own unboxing. Has to be. And similarly, I got a big box that's very heavy from Jared Guy. And this, of course, is going to be its own unboxing as well. And I'm thinking that the Dread Central stuff will be its own unboxing. And maybe I'll do this one at the end of this video as like a little special surprise kind of thing. So there you have it. That's what I'm going to be doing over the course of this week for you. I do want to tell you guys this really quick before I get into the questions. I have 8 magnets left. I know I've talked about this a lot. I promise I'm not going to be bothering you too much about it. But I did want to let you know that I decided to do a little giveaway. Now this giveaway is only for people who purchase a magnet. But there are going to be 2 winners. And I personally think that the prizes are pretty awesome because I made them. So the first thing that you could win is the original sculpt. This is the clay sculpt. That's the original clay sculpt of the werewolf that I'm selling finished resin magnets that are painted of. So you get, this is a one-of-a-kind thing. There's no other ones like it. It's the original clay sculpture. So one person will win that, a random person who buys the magnet, and one other person will randomly be selected to win the original concept art. So this is the original, I like to sketch out what I'm going to sculpt, and this is the original concept art for that. Before I send it out, I will sign it and probably leave a little note for you or something on there. So those are the 2 items that I'm going to give away. But there is a caveat, and that is I'm only doing that giveaway if I can sell out of the remaining magnets by this Thursday. Okay, so I forget the date. I think it's October 23rd, maybe, something like that. But this coming Thursday, if I can sell out of the remaining 8 magnets by then, 2 people will win those items, which I thought was kind of a cool thing. I don't know, you tell me. Is it lame? They're 2 one-of-a-kind things that show the progress of the sculpt, the finished magnet. So I thought, be pretty neat. But let me know, because if that's something you'd like to see me do in the future with my other products, I can always do that. If we sell out by a certain time, 2 people win concept art and original clay sculpture. That could be kind of cool. So maybe if this goes well, if you guys think it's something that I should do, I will. Oh yes, Blackest Night. Warlock. Oh my god, that smells awesome. It smells like, what is that? It reminds me of something very autumny. Like molasses and brown sugar and caramel. Oh my, holy shit. Holy shit. I'm sorry, I know that I'm not supposed to like talk about the beer for too long, but holy shit. This is awesome. I don't even know how to begin explaining what this is. It's sweet, and it has the spices in there. It's almost like burnt, not burnt, but like caramelized spiced pumpkin with the sweetness and caramelization and spices and oh, holy hell, that is so good. Please, if you can find this, Warlock by Southern Tier, you must try this. What does it say here? Maybe I'll read that later, but alright. Woo! It's a strong beer too. It's this is an Imperial, 8.6% alcohol by volume, which is not too high, but higher than normal beer. Okay, question time. If you guys still want to stick around after all of that. Oh man. Okay. First question. What is your favorite horror genre? This is an easy one for me to answer, and that is my favorite being campy horror. Hands down, campy horror. I love to be frightened, I love being scared, but more than that, I really enjoy good comic gore and laughs with the frights. So, I mean, some good examples, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say campy horror. Oh, even B-movie horror might kind of fit that bill as well. But I'm thinking movies like, you know, Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2, Dead Alive, movies like that, if that makes sense. So that's my favorite genre, or subgenre really of horror. At what age did you start watching horror? I was really young. I've actually written articles about this before that have been published on different websites and things. So I'll be brief in this, but I was really young. I think the first horror movie I ever watched was Beware the Blob. Not in its entirety, but a good portion of it. It was on TV when I was much younger. I had to be maybe like 7, 8, something like that. And I'm going to come back to this answer when we get to another question that I know because I watched Johnny's question stuff. Alright, and it's the next question. What movie gives you nightmares? It probably comes as no surprise that the movie that gave me nightmares was Beware the Blob. Since I was so young, it really made a pretty severe impression on me. I don't have nightmares about that now, and really I don't have nightmares anymore at all. But when I was a kid, I had nightmares that I still remember to this day about the Blob. One in particular was I was on the top bunk. I used to have bunk beds with my brother when I was a kid. I was on the top bunk and the Blob was coming up one side and I would roll to the other side of the bed and then the Blob would be coming up the other side. And yeah, I remember that, so it definitely made an impression on me. Interestingly, just a side note, interestingly, at some point I combined the Twilight Zone and Beware the Blob for some reason. I don't know how that happened or why that happened, but I remember one 4th of July, they were doing the marathon. I think it was a marathon, but the Twilight Zone was coming on, and it was the spinny part, the hypnotizing thingy. And I ran out of the room. I saw that shit, and I ran because I thought the Blob was coming on for some. Maybe it was the music, maybe it was just that mysterious kind of thing going on. But it wasn't until years later when I was thinking of that memory that I said, "Oh, wait a minute, that was the Twilight Zone." And I don't know why, I thought it was the Blob for some reason. Okay, next up, number 4. What is your least favorite genre? I'm going to assume they mean subgenre of horror. I would imagine, since this is all about horror. So my least favorite subgenre of horror, torture porn. Definitely torture porn. I am not really a big fan of that. Now, I do like over-the-top gore in campy movies, but when it's like ultra-realistic gore, You know what? It's not even the realism that bothers me. It's that feeling of like fascism, not fascism, but this feeling of being trapped. Like, I don't know, a good example I guess would be Saw or Hostel, where there's someone who's like strapped down and then some maniac comes along and is going to torture them, you know, and cut them up and take pieces of them off and whatever. I just don't find it very compelling, and although I do enjoy the effects, and I can appreciate the effects, from a story standpoint, they're not really that much fun for me. I don't really dig those. So that is definitely my least favorite subgenre of horror. Where are we? 5. Can you watch scary movies in the dark? Yes, of course. I prefer to watch them in the dark. That's the best part. I think I've told you guys this before, but I actually walk my dog in the dark with no flashlight in the woods. You know, I like that feeling. I enjoy being scared. That's probably why I'm such a big horror fan, why I write horror, why I surround myself by horror. Yeah, I enjoy that sensation of fear. Although watching movies in the dark isn't about the fear so much as just like seeing the screen better, for me anyway. Let's see. Number 6, goriest movie ever. I don't know if this means like... Sorry, I didn't prep at all. I didn't like, I watched Johnny's video, but I didn't like prep anything here. The goriest movie, in my opinion, the goriest movie ever. I'm pretty sure that Dead Alive was at one time considered the goriest movie because of that last scene with the lawnmower. Evil Dead, the remake Evil Dead, may have technically surpassed... now I'm talking about in sheer volume of fake blood. I think those were considered the goriest movies because of how much fake blood they used. But if we're talking like just like disturbing gore, I don't even know, man. I mean, I've seen some crazy movies. I'm gonna leave it at the answer I gave, but I have a feeling there's probably better answers to that. Maybe I'll come back to that after I thought about it a little while. Vampires, werewolves, or zombies? I like them all. I don't have a favorite, really. I get tired of each and every one of them eventually. Like right now, zombies are being done to death, so I'm sort of starting to get a little tired of them. At one point, vampires are still kind of being done to death, so, you know, I got tired of that too. Werewolves are very rarely done to death, although they are being kind of like shoehorned into these other like vampire shows and movies and things. So maybe werewolves. I do really enjoy the whole idea of transformation, and when you hit upon a movie that does a really good, realistic, not realistic, but what are they called? You know, not CGI effects for it. It's really kind of satisfying. When watching horror movies, do you root for the bad guy? You know, sometimes, I guess. It really depends on how bad the bad guy is, or if the bad guy is kind of like middle of the road, sort of gray area bad guy, you know what I mean? But, yeah, it really has to be, I think it really has to be for me like that middle of the road gray area bad guy for me to root for them. If they're straight up like, you know, genocidal maniacs, probably not going to root for them. That's just me. What's next? We have, number 9. What is the worst horror movie you've ever seen? Worst horror movie that I've ever seen. You know, there are a lot of really bad movies out there. I recently railed on Sharknado a little bit in a previous video. I didn't watch that all the way through though, so I'm not going to say that. And I know a lot of people like it for its campiness. There's this movie that I had on VHS. I think it was called Animals, or The Animals, with Linnea Quigley in it. And it was a rare tape, but I tried to watch it and it was just god-awful. It was like shot on video, you know, bad lighting, bad acting, awful plot. I didn't even watch the whole thing. That was pretty god-awful. I mean, there are a ton of other ones that I could name, I guess, but just for the sake of brevity, we'll keep it at that. What's up next here? No. Name a movie that no one has seen but should. Well, I don't think there is a movie I can name that no one has seen, but there are a few, I guess. I brought up... the only prep I did really for this is I brought a bunch of movies over here in stacks. So, I know I talked about Murder Party recently. I think I have that up here somewhere. Murder Party, where are you? There you are. I know I talked about Murder Party. A couple people, after I said that you should watch this, a couple people watched it and they said they really liked it. A couple people watched it and said, man, not really my style. And it did occur to me later on that this might not be for everyone. It's definitely kind of on the indie side. It's got gonzo moments in it, and there are definitely some really funny comedic moments, as well as some really cool visual gore effects, practical effects. But there is definitely, plot-wise, you might not really like the main character or his arc. I get that, but personally, I fucking love this movie. This was me. I dig these kinds of movies, slow burn sometimes, with a little comedy, with a little gonzo, with a little bit of, relatable characters that aren't necessarily heroes or bad. They're just kind of like middle of the road, that are trying to be bad but aren't, like evil, and some that are just flat out evil, and some that are just, trying to have a good time. It's a good movie. I recommend it. So that's one. Another one that is, I'm sure, much more well known, but I don't hear people talking about it very often, is Cemetery Man. And this is another kind of weird movie. It's surreal at times, and it's definitely got an ending that might leave you, depending on what kind of movies you like, might leave you dissatisfied. But it's up there in terms of movies that not a whole lot of people have seen. So mention that one, Cemetery Man. I don't have a copy of it over here, but May. I know Johnny Tella has mentioned it, but freaking see that movie. If you haven't seen May, you have to see that movie. And similarly, I don't know that you'd necessarily call it horror, but there is this other movie that is sort of the flip side, the flip version, opposite world version of May, which is Roman, wherein the director of May is Lucky McKee, and the main star, I know I'm going to butcher her name, I'm sorry, Angela Batis, I believe. She's the main character that plays May. In Roman, Lucky McKee is the main character in the movie, and Angela Batis is the director. And it has similar themes, and it definitely has horror tropes in it, and that's much less viewed, I think, than May is. Not as good as May, but definitely if you like May, you'll want to see Roman, for sure. Don't miss that. I have a couple others here, but I think I'm going to save them for more questions. So, you know what? Call Girl of the Cthulhu by Chris LaMartina. That's a really, indie flick that I don't think has come out yet. I got, an early screener of it because I wrote a review for it, but it is fantastic. Low budget for sure. You could tell that it's low budget, but it's just so much fun. It's a really cool movie. Call Girl of the Cthulhu, if you get to see that. Definitely. Okay. Where were we? Name a movie no one has seen. No, we just did that one. If horror movies were real life, would you rather be in a zombie apocalypse, abducted by aliens, or locked in a haunted house? I am going to go with the haunted house. Zombie apocalypse, I feel like, is hopeless. There may be kind of an early on moment where it's oh, the apocalypse, kind of fun, maybe, I don't know. But in the long run, it's really a hopeless situation, and you're not going to survive it, frankly. So, not that. Aliens scare the crap out of me in terms of, being abducted by aliens, and whatever they're going to do to you, the fact that you may never even get back to your home, your planet, I don't want to deal with that. Haunted house, though. I could deal with a haunted house. You could beat a haunted house, There are ways to beat a haunted house. So you have hope in that scenario. I'm going with it. Favorite horror movie of all time? That's an unfair question. Favorite horror movie of all time? I can't answer that. There are too many. Jeez. Oh, I honestly don't even know how to answer that. I really don't. There are just so many. There are just way too many. I can't answer it. I'm not answering it. I refuse to answer that. I'm going to talk about a lot of movies in the next question, the last question though, so I'll just cover pretty much all the stuff I love to watch. So the next and last question, the 13th question, is name 5 movies that would be great to watch on Halloween. I am going to cheat, and you should have expected me to cheat. Okay, first of all, I have written countless articles about marathoning and horror movie marathons and full moon marathons and harvest moon marathons and all sorts of things. And I love to marathon, and Halloween is one of the best times to do it. And I basically take the entire month. It's not just, this says on Halloween. I'm talking like October. What do I watch for October? There are Johnny also said the same thing. There are a couple of the obvious answers like Halloween, any of the Halloween movies, Trick or Treat, obviously. I'm going to skip over that because, for obvious reasons. And I will say this. It's not just about the movies. There are 3 TV specials that I need to watch. Need to. One is Garfield's Halloween. I think it's called Garfield's Halloween Adventure. So this is all the holiday ones, but I love Garfield's Halloween Adventure. There's one song in there that is just gotta listen to every year. Must watch it. It's Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. Gotta watch it. I know. Charlie Brown's an asshole, but what are you gonna do? It gives me the nostalgia tingles, so I need to watch that every year. Preferably the day that I do my jack-o'-lantern. I like to watch these. And the last one is Pete and Pete's episode Halloweeny. I gotta watch it. Those are my 3 must-watches. You could count that as one movie, maybe. It's an hour and a half of viewing pleasure. So I have to watch those. And I have to watch Return of the Living Dead at some point. Have to watch Poltergeist at some point. Gotta get in the Mouth of Madness, which is totally underrated and an awesome creepy movie. So you better watch that one. Maybe this would have been a good one for the one that movies that people don't watch very often. Dead Alive. I mean, it's a must-watch. I know I'm totally cheating. This is not 5. I know that. Don't even start with me, man. Don't start. What else we got in here? Oh, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Not necessarily. You know what? This is another one that I think maybe fits better in movies that not many people have seen. And also, just a quick note. I just bought this today at Best Buy for $6.99, and it is the limited edition collectible card with exclusive artwork is with that. So if you don't own this, Best Buy, $6.99, do it. Night of the Demons. I already talked about Evil Dead. Here's a weird one that you might not think of. Lawnmower Man. Lawnmower Man. You want to know why? Because one year in Brooklyn, my friends and I decided not to go trick-or-treating when we were kids, but rather to buy a bunch of candy and watch a couple of horror movies, marathons of movies on Halloween. This was one of the ones we rented, along with Troll 2. So that was my first exposure to Troll 2 as a kid. I didn't realize what I was getting into, and it wasn't until years later that I could truly appreciate it, but there you have it. Okay, I cheated way too much, and it's probably going on about half an hour that I've been talking, so I'm going to stop now. I'm going to stop. I'm supposed to tag someone. So I think off the top of my head, I'm going to tag Tony, Mr. Tony of the Dead. I think you should do this. This should be one of your 31 days of Halloween. Yeah. Go, man, go. Alright. I'm gonna stop now and maybe do a couple unboxings. We'll see what gets loaded up first and what goes second. I don't know. I'm gonna keep drinking this beer though. That's one thing that I know for sure. See you guys soon. Don't do anything I want to. Oh, and don't forget my new closing line. This is what I'm gonna say. So at the end of every video, right? I'm gonna say, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Shh. I'm gonna do this. Drink the beer. Drink that pumpkin ale. You gonna drink it? Drink it.